How I passed the Praxis Agriculture 5701 on my first try preparation quiz. Question 1. A plant science class is studying the effects of different light wavelengths on photosynthesis. Students set up an experiment with 3 groups of bean plants grown under identical conditions, except for the light source. Group A receives full spectrum white light. Group B receives only red light. Group C receives only green light. All groups receive the same light intensity and photoperiod. After 4 weeks, the students measure plant height, leaf area, and biomass. They find that Group B plants are taller than Group A but have smaller leaves and less total biomass. Group C plants are spindly, pale, and have very low biomass. Which of the following conclusions about light quality and plant growth is best supported by these experimental results? Is it? Option A. Red light is more effective than white light for promoting overall plant growth because the taller plants indicate greater vigor and productivity. B. Green light is completely useless for photosynthesis because plants appear green, meaning they reflect green light and cannot use it for energy production. C. Red light promotes stem elongation but is less effective than full-spectrum light for overall biomass production, possibly because plants require multiple light wavelengths for optimal photosynthesis and development. Or D. White light is the only suitable light source for growing plants, and any experiment using monochromatic light will always produce inferior plants regardless of the specific wavelength used. The correct answer is C. The experimental results demonstrate an important concept in plant photomorphogenesis and photosynthesis. Plants use different light wavelengths for different processes. Red light is efficiently absorbed by chlorophyll and drives photosynthesis, but it also triggers specific photoreceptors called phytochromes that influence stem elongation and other developmental responses. The taller plants under red light may actually be exhibiting a shade avoidance response, where plants elongate stems to compete for light, which can occur at the expense of leaf and root growth. Full-spectrum light provides both red and blue wavelengths, with blue light being particularly important for chloroplast development, stomatal opening, and preventing excessive stem elongation. The poor performance under green light is expected because chlorophyll absorbs green light poorly, though recent research shows green light can penetrate deeper into leaf canopies and contribute to photosynthesis in lower leaves. Option A incorrectly equates height with overall productivity. Option B is an oversimplification. Plants can use some green light, and it's not completely useless. Option D is too absolute and ignores the legitimate use of specialized grow lights in horticulture. Option C correctly interprets that different wavelengths have different effects, and that full-spectrum light provides a balance of wavelengths needed for optimal growth. Question 2. A student in an agricultural education program wants to start a supervised agricultural experience project focused on beef production. The student has access to 5 acres of pasture, a small barn, and $3,000 in startup capital from savings. The student is considering 3 options: raising 2 beef calves to slaughter weight over 18 months, purchasing a bred heifer to start a small cow-calf operation, or leasing 5 ewes for a sheep enterprise instead. The student's long-term goal is to generate enough income to help pay for college tuition in 4 years. Which of the following factors should be the most important consideration in selecting the SAE project to best align with the student's stated goal? Is it? Option A. The initial capital requirement must be kept under $3,000, so whichever option stays within this budget is automatically the best choice regardless of other factors. B. The availability of existing facilities means the student should choose the enterprise that makes best use of the barn and pasture without requiring additional construction. C. The time to first income and the potential for profit over 4 years should be calculated and compared, considering the student's available time for daily management. Or D. The student's personal preference for working with cattle versus sheep should determine the choice, as enjoyment of the work ensures long-term commitment to the project. The correct answer is C. When selecting an SAE project with a specific financial goal in mind, the most important consideration is whether the project can realistically generate the desired income within the available time frame. The student needs money for college in 4 years, so the project must produce sufficient profit by that time. This requires analyzing each option's production cycle, time to market, annual carrying costs, expected revenue, and net profit over multiple years. A bred heifer might take 2 years to produce a saleable calf, then another 2 years for the second calf. 2 beef calves could be sold in 18 months, but then the student would need to reinvest for additional cycles. Sheep might produce lambs and wool annually. Option A considers budget but ignores profitability. Staying under budget is meaningless if the project doesn't generate returns. Option B considers facilities, which is important but secondary to financial outcomes. Option D considers student preference, which matters for engagement but should not override financial viability when the primary goal is income generation. A business analysis comparing projected returns is the most appropriate approach. Remember, we can take your Praxis 5701 exam for you remotely and undetected with 155 score guaranteed. Message us via the number in the bio. Question 3. A farmer is considering two different marketing strategies for the farm's grain production. Strategy A involves selling the grain directly to the local elevator at harvest time for the current cash price. Strategy B involves storing the grain on farm in existing bins and selling it throughout the year as prices fluctuate, potentially capturing higher prices but incurring storage costs and assuming price risk. The farmer has historical data showing that post-harvest price increases average 30 cents per bushel, but vary widely by year, with some years showing decreases. Storage costs including interest on the value of grain, shrinkage, and quality deterioration are estimated at 5 cents per bushel per month. Which of the following factors would be most important for the farmer to consider in deciding between these two strategies? Is it Option A, the convenience of selling at harvest and not having to manage grain storage throughout the year, freeing up time for other farm activities? B, the farmer's risk tolerance and financial situation, including whether the farm can withstand a year when post-harvest prices decrease rather than increase. C, the availability of transportation to move grain to market throughout the year, as some local elevators may not accept grain during certain months. Or D, the opinions of neighboring farmers about which strategy they typically follow, as local custom often indicates the most profitable approach. The correct answer is B. This scenario presents a classic marketing decision involving trade-offs between risk and potential return. Selling at harvest provides certainty and immediate cash flow, but forgoes potential price increases. Storing grain offers potential for higher prices, but introduces price risk and storage costs. The most important consideration is the farmer's ability to withstand potential losses if prices move against the stored grain. A farmer with high debt levels, tight cash flow, or low risk tolerance may be better served by the certain but lower return of harvest sales. A farmer with strong financial reserves and higher risk tolerance might choose storage to potentially capture higher returns. Option A is a valid consideration but secondary to financial risk. Option C is an operational consideration that would need to be addressed regardless of strategy. Option D is not a sound basis for marketing decisions. Following neighbors does not guarantee optimal outcomes. The financial risk assessment is paramount in marketing decisions. Question 4. A high school agricultural mechanics class is learning about welding safety. The teacher demonstrates proper setup of welding equipment, including the use of personal protective equipment. A student asks why welding helmets have such dark lenses, explaining that they can barely see through them before starting to weld. Which of the following explanations accurately describes the scientific reason for the dark lens requirement? Is it Option A, the dark lens protects the welder's eyes from the intense ultraviolet and infrared radiation produced by the welding arc, which can cause arc eye or flash burn, even with brief exposure. B, the dark lens allows the welder to see the molten metal pool more clearly by filtering out the bright light that would otherwise obscure the detail needed for proper weld bead formation. C, the dark lens is required by OSHA regulations primarily to prevent welders from being distracted by bright light in the shop environment, not for direct eye protection. Or D, the dark lens reduces eye fatigue during long welding sessions by dimming the overall light level to a comfortable range for the human eye. The correct answer is A. Welding arcs produce extremely intense light across multiple wavelengths, including visible light, ultraviolet radiation, and infrared radiation. Ultraviolet radiation from welding arcs can cause photokeratitis, commonly known as arc eye or flash burn, which is a painful inflammation of the cornea that can occur even with brief exposure. Infrared radiation can cause thermal damage to the retina. The dark lens in a welding helmet serves the primary purpose of filtering out these harmful wavelengths, while allowing enough visible light through for the welder to see the work. Modern auto-darkening helmets use liquid crystal technology to switch from light to dark state when the arc strikes. Option B is partially true but describes a secondary benefit. The primary reason is protection from UV and IR damage. Option C is incorrect. OSHA regulations are based on the need for protection, not the other way around. Option D describes a comfort consideration, not the critical safety function. The scientific basis is protection from radiation damage, which can cause permanent eye injury. Question 5. A farmer has observed that a particular field consistently produces lower corn yields than adjacent fields, even though all fields receive the same fertilization, tillage, and pest management. Option A. Low pH causes clay particles to swell in close-off pore spaces, reducing water infiltration and creating anaerobic conditions that damage corn root systems. B. Acidic conditions increase the solubility of aluminum and manganese to toxic levels, while also reducing the availability of phosphorus and other nutrients essential for corn growth. C. Corn plants cannot absorb water through their roots when soil pH is below 5.5, because the root cell membranes become impermeable under acidic conditions. Or D. Low pH kills beneficial earthworms and soil bacteria that are necessary for decomposition and nutrient cycling, leading to reduced organic matter and soil fertility. The correct answer is B. Soil pH has profound effects on nutrient availability and soil chemistry. At low pH values, acidic conditions, several problems occur simultaneously. Most importantly, aluminum and manganese become more soluble and can reach toxic concentrations that damage root tips and inhibit root growth. Additionally, phosphorus availability is maximized in the pH range of 6.0 to 7.0 and declines sharply in acidic soils as phosphorus forms insoluble compounds with aluminum and iron. Calcium and magnesium availability also decreases at low pH. Option A is incorrect because low pH does not cause clay swelling. In fact, extreme pH can affect soil structure differently, but this is not the primary yield-limiting mechanism. Option C is false. Water absorption is not directly blocked by pH in this manner. Option D has some truth because soil bacteria are less active at low pH, but this is a slower, indirect effect, while aluminum toxicity and nutrient unavailability are immediate and direct constraints on crop growth. Liming to raise pH to optimal levels would address both the toxicity and availability issues. How many did you score out of 5? Let us know in the comments below. Also, tell us which exam we should cover next. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more.